TC, Yaroslav Mika, Slovakia, and the official scorer for the second semi-final game today, Malte Neuper und Hauke Brockmann. Jetzt gibt's die Play Conference und da sind wir auch schon auf dem Weg. Für die Caps in diesem Turnier.
So, welcome and hi again everyone on Caps TV for the second semi-final of the Champions Cup. My name is Andre Dubier. I'll be taking you through tonight's game along with Tom Paulus.
Hello from me as well.
And our technician for the pictures is his brother, Max Paulus. So, as we are the plate conference by the two managers, Gianguido Poma for Parma Baseball Club and Caps manager Max Schmitz. Today's umpiring crew from the Czech Republic and an assistant from the Netherlands. And we'll have the first pitch in about 5 minutes. It's going to be veteran left-hander Christian Tomzig for the Bonn Capitals as the starting pitcher, and left-hander Luis Lugo, former Cleveland Indians and Chicago Cubs minor leaguer for Parma Baseball Club. So we'll start with the lineups very shortly. Parma with an easy path through their group play, starting with a dominating win over the Czech team from Draci Brno, 11-1, then a 12-0 rout of the Heidenheim Heideköpfe, followed by an easy 4-12 loss against Amsterdam as the Capitals take the field. Capitals won their group play barely on the run differential versus San Marino and Neptunus. And Christian Tomzig, the veteran lefty, Austrian-born, called Chili, as the Cap starting pitcher. The lineup for the Parma Baseball Club will look as follows. It's going to be leading off number 11, center fielder Aldo Koutsianopoulos. Batting second will be the second baseman, number 43, Ezekiel Talevi. The right fielder, Noel Gonzalez, batting third, followed by shortstop Manuel Joseph. Batting fifth is the DH, Cesare Astori. The first baseman, number 83, Alex Zambucci. The catcher is number 36, Alberto Mineo. The third baseman is number 12, Tommaso Battioni. And in left field, number 48, Stefano De Simoni. On defense, Capitals with the usual team with catcher Vinny Ahrens, followed then by first baseman Daniel Lampant, second baseman Eddie Stommel, shortstop Eric Brink. The third baseman is Danny Sanchez. Left fielder will be Nick Michelli. In center field, Danny Lankhorst. And in right field, Wilson Lee. As Christian Tomzig completes his final warm-up pitch. And we're ready to go here for the semifinal, looking for the opponent for the Amsterdam team, which won the first semifinal by a score of 13-9, a pretty long ball game. He steps in to the batter's box against Christian Tomzig, who starts outside with a fastball.
Christian Tomzig, of course, having surpassed 40 years.
Sort of messed up the plans. So I think originally the plan would have been to start Zack Dodson, the ace left-hander tonight, but he had to pitch a day later than anticipated with Tuesday night's rainout, and then started on Wednesday, so that would be just 2 days rest. As there's a bloop cop by Eddie Stommel at second base for the first out in the first inning.
Dodson might still be available today, as he only went 5 innings due to second rain delay that ended his outing a bit early. Didn't have to work too hard, throw too many pitches, so might see him for an inning or two later today.
It's Max Schmitz, the coach told me before the game, all hands on deck, so basically they'll look what situation pops up. As second baseman Ezekiel Talebi steps in to bat for Parma. And takes a strike on the outside corner. As you can see, Christian Tomczyk tries to work the outside corner. That's his game plan usually, not throwing anything. The mashing right fielder, number 39, Noel Gonzalez, who I believe already has 2 home runs in this tournament, and is definitely one of the bigger power bats here in this play. Number 3 bat for Parma, with an OPS in the league well over 1,000, which also shows that he's also dominating the Italian Baseball League, which is a, of course, very high-level baseball league for
trees out in right center field.
As Tomczyk in the windup and the pitch. That's a nice strike. To even the count at 1-1. Also Gonzalez a base machine as the slow pickup, and the team from Jockey Brno. Foul back, 1-2.
More of a side-arm delivery there by Christian Tomczyk.
Yeah, I think
he's known to mix those up.
Yeah, he's a very, he has a lot of depth in his pitches and a lot of versatility with mixing things up and trying to outsmart the batters without dominant stuff. So second brings up the shortstop, number 13, Manuel Joseph. Joseph also has a home run already in this tournament and has gone 4 for 11 so far.
It's been a bit shaky on defense though, as the shortstop.
As Tomczyk tries to paint the outside corner but misses away for ball 1. Runner at second base, 2 out here in the top of the first. We're just getting started in Bonn for the second semi.
Can't throw it a whole lot because once they start sitting on it, you can obviously crush it coming in so slow, but effective right there.
I mean, for German standards, Tomczyk kind of reminds me of Rich Hill from in the U.S. major leagues, like another veteran lefties in his early 40s, so-called 5-and-dive pitcher who, if you're happy if you get 5 innings and he keeps in the game, and that's like a way for especially left-handed veteran pitchers who can pitch forever, it seems. Like deep into their 40s, and Tomczyk is one good example. As the count goes to 3-1, I think, with 2 outs. On deck batter is very dangerous Cesare Astori, who is the league leader in Italy in RBIs with 30 this year, so don't want to really have him with runners on base. We shall see how the Capitals fare against Manuel Joseph here. 3-1 pitch by Tomczyk. And there's a deep drive into right field, going back down line course at the wall fence, and it's out of here. It's a 2-run home run for Manuel Joseph, and that gives Parma an early 2-0 lead against the Capitals. Of course, as always, 9-inning game, so still a way to go for both teams to leave them up. And that'll bring number 16, Cesare Astori, to the plate. As I said, Astori, another big-time power bat who we don't want to make any mistakes with, as he's a really dangerous power source. Also 434 batting average in the Italian League with the 1,100 plus OPS, so also very good hitter.
switch hitter as well. Can always play the preferable matchup.
Tomzik gets ahead though, 0-1. Trying to get out of the first inning here without further damage. There's another deep drive, but this one should be playable for Daniel Lankers. He lines up and makes the one-hit catch to retire the side in the top of the first, but it's 2 runs to start the So, we'll be back here with the bottom of the first inning as left-hander Luis Lugo completes his final warm-up toss. And the all right-handed hitting Bonn Capitals lineup looking to come back here after 2 runs for Parma in the first inning. Leading off, as always, number 30, Eric Brank, longtime Capital shortstop, who has been on the roster for several years. And a long-time minor league farmhand for the Cleveland Indians and the Chicago Cubs for almost a decade, with a short KBO intermezzo in between. So this is like a really strong pitcher who actually threw 2 innings in the game against Heidenheim. Before that was interrupted by rain. So he's a fresh arm that played out well for Parma, that they have an ace caliber pitcher for this very important semifinal, as the count was up to 1-2 for Eric Brank, looking to get something started here for the Capitals. Fastball, curveball, slider, and changeup, all pretty solid, they said, for minor league prospect standards back then, so that'll easy do for UP. But then Brank lines a high drive into left field, and it bounces, but it's
a foul ball.
Tough to see from this angle here. Just foul, looked nice, but hooked foul down the left field line. So the count remains even at 2-2, and Eric Brank returns to the batter's box.
Great swing on that one. Got all of that. Just pulled it a slight bit too much.
Also, left fielder was shifted way over to center field, so that would have been extra bases had that gone fair. At least a double, probably a triple, but did he go? Yes. Strike 3 called by the first plate umpire. Brank is retired on a strikeout. And now mashing Capitals right fielder Wilson Lee, who also contributed in yesterday's win against the Neptunes Curaçao of Rotterdam. That was vital to get the Capitals into this game in the semifinals. And a big hack, but swing and a miss by Wilson Lee.
You're going to see nothing but big hacks out of Wilson Lee.
That's his typical approach. big swing, foul back. Got a good rip at that one, but fouled it back. So now down the count 0-2. To left-hander Luis Lugo, the starting pitcher for Parma baseball team. Nice breaking pitch, just missed outside and low. That was very tempting, but Willie managed to lay off, so he remains in there. It's a really imposing big lefty figure. I mean, that type of profile also can have a long career in baseball if you want.
Exactly the type of pitcher you want in an important game like the
Definitely.
semifinal.
So nice comeback here for Wilson Lee to get the count full. 3-2, 1 out. As a drive into right field, into the gap, but picked up by the right fielder Noel Gonzalez. But a 1 out base hit for Willie Lee here. Sanchez.
Some really solid swings here early by the Capitals.
Yep.
Coaching staff seems to have really done their scouting well. Prepared their hitters for this left-hander.
And a high foul pop-up out of play. Still action going on the second field here. There's the relegation game between the Neptune, who was leading, but now it's tightened up again, I think. So we shall see how that ends. Neptunes have had a knack of getting back late in games, as Danny Sanchez rips a line drive foul down the right field line into the stands, as several young kids are chasing the ball in Rheinauer Park here. Beautiful area in Bonn. Certainly worth a visit anytime. Former capital of Germany. The Capitals were founded in 1989, a day before the fall of the Berlin Wall. So that's how the team name originated, right before the Berlin Wall came down. So quite an historic situation, as Danny Sanchez gets hit in the back by this pitch by Luis Lugo and heads over to here.
That can't feel good.
No.
Looks like
seems okay for now.
Lugo seems to be having fastball, definitely in the low 90s.
Yeah, looking strong. So let's see how Daniel Lampunt can handle this type of stuff. Veteran bat, already age 35, also a Capitals mainstay over the past decade almost. I think of New Zealand origin. First and second for Daniel Lampunt, who hits a ground ball too short, could be to second, but hard slide by Danny Sanchez, so just the force out. So the Capitals remain in the inning with Daniel Lampunt at first base and Wilson Lee at third with 2 outs, and now the big hero of Wednesday's game with a walk-off grand slam home run in the bottom of the 9th inning to turn a very nice tournament for the Bonn Capitals after sort of not seemingly waking up for quite a while in that game offensively, but then the big swing by Vinny Arons to end it in one big blast. Now looking for something similar to get the Capitals on the scoreboard, but here a big whiff on a pitch by Luis Lugo. 0-1 for the Capitals catcher.
Looked like the change up there. Caught him out in front.
Yep. Pick up at first base, but Daniel Lampunt back easily. Like Sambuchi manning first base for, and that ground ball to second base, force out to end the inning. Nothing across for the Capitals, so the score remains Parma 2, Bonn nothing. So we're back again. Hopefully the internet is working. So far we might have just talked amongst ourselves. We shall see whether we get the stream up and running. Hopefully any time.
Bonn right now always. It's a bit tough to get a good connection with all the people here. Not a good internet connection, so
we'll see what first baseman Alex Sambucci can do here in the top of the second inning to lead off for Parma, which is up 2-0 after a 2-run first inning, including a 2-run home run by shortstop Manuel Joseph. And there's a deep drive down the left field line, but hooking foul. Long strike, 1-1 against veteran Capitals left-hander Christian Tomsich, called Chili. And the veteran Austrian lefty with an inside pitch, which hits Alex Sambucci in the leg, but runner on first base. And here is catcher Alberto Mineo, number 36. So seeing some action towards the Capitals bullpen with the bullpen catcher running back there. So let's see whether Max Schwitz is making true on his statement that all hands are on deck, and he might not have a very slow hook today on Christian Tomsich. We'll see. I mean, this is a do-or-die game, obviously, in the semifinals.
The pitching style of Tomsich. Sometimes when some teams just figure him out, it's going to be really tough for him to get outs. So, and it seems to be the case today here.
So far, quite a few deep drives, one big home run, a couple of foul balls, and a deep fly out to center field. So we shall see how Chile the sidearm delivery here, but that's apparently tad too low. So the count is 2-0 to the catcher Alberto Mineo. Outside, and that raises the count to 3-0. So kind of a struggle here in the second inning so far, getting the ball into the strike zone. This one is though 3-1. A big pitch coming up, of course. I mean, every run counts, obviously, and the Parma offense is really tough to contain, as the previous games have shown, and also their Italian league score, which I think they're 19-2 on the season so far in Italy, and have a 954 on base plus slugging percentage in Italy, which is like really masterfully say anything above 900 is already quite good, and 954 is
as an entire team too. As
a team OPS, so even the lower batting order bats are quite efficient getting the ball in play and scoring runs. And there's a drive down the right field line all the way to the wall, picked up by Wilson Lee, and now he's heading home, and the throw to the plate is not in time. It gets by both catcher Benny Ahrens and picked up by Tomsich backing him up. But that's the third run for Alex Sambucci for Parma, while Alberto Mineo goes to second base with an RBI double, although we will see the scoring as Willie Lee had some issues picking up the ball in the right field corner, and I would guess that Sambucci might have stopped at third base if he had picked that ball up cleanly. So we'll wait the official scoring before handing out an RBI here, but for now that was a big drive anyway. Parma leads 3-0, and as the ball comes over from the other field, little break in the action as third baseman Tommaso Battioni steps into the batter's box with a runner on second base. Nobody else here in the top of the second inning. There's a strike.
Showing bunt here. The runner on second and no out.
Trying to tack on some runs early maybe, although playing a little about the bottom of the order maybe. onto the other field. Action still going on for the game that started at 4 o'clock, so almost 4 o'clock, 4:20, so over 3 hours now in that very important relegation match. Try to get a scoreboard update for that game soon. Although you can also switch channels, I suppose, and look for yourself. As the count is 1 ball, 2 strikes to Tommaso Battioni. 3 for 10 so far in this tournament. A breaking pitch, trying to hook on the outside corner, but just missed. That looked pretty close, but just inside. So the count is full. 3 balls, 2 strikes. Crucial spot trying to get outs against the bottom of the Parma order here, with the big boppers coming up soon again. Don't want the beginning and be way behind the game, but still within 1 swing potentially. Always try to keep the score less than 4 runs if possible.
But I mean, with a team OPS of 954, there is no real bottom of the order, as in bad hitters, just maybe not quite as good as some of the earlier guys.
Lined down the left field line here. So indeed, Tommaso Battioni, pretty young still, born in 2000. Utility player, can play in multiple positions. With a 434 average in play in Italy, actually.
I think
Sorry,
that's
that's actually his colleague. Clicked the wrong button here. But still, good batter himself. Tommaso with a 260 average, actually. Getting that right now. But a 441 on base percentage, as it almost hits our booth, but tad high. Count remains full. Still nobody out here for Parma in the top of the 2nd inning. And there's a drive into center field, and then Lankos has played on a hop. Picks it up and throws to Eric Brank, cutting the ball off. So runners in the corner, still nobody out for Parma. After this base hit by Tommaso Battioni. And that'll bring up the left fielder, number 48, Stefano De Simoni. Another lefty bat. But so far, all kinds of bats have really not had much trouble against the pitches by the Capitals' finesse left-hander.
I can't imagine that Max Schmitz is going to let him go out there much longer. The way this game is going, can't have it get out of reach too early.
Nice curveball though into the glove of Vinny Arens. Strike 1. I guess some more of those could be a way to possibly get Mr. De Simoni out. We shall see. High pop-up, that's just on the border of the outfield. Eddie Stammel under it and makes the catch to get the first out. Crucial out here to avoid even more trouble. So De Simoni out, and now it's back to the top of the order and speedy Aldo Koutsoyiannopoulos.
That's going to be it already for Tomsy.
Yep, there's Max Schmitz, and he probably doesn't wait, and there he is. So Christian Tomvik is out after 1 1/3 innings of pitching. 2 runners on base still belong to him. And it looks like Maurice Wilhelm, the veteran right-hander who pitched, I think, 3 strong innings in the game on Wednesday.
Mr. Clutch out there on the mound, always giving his best performances in tough games and close games or championship games.
The low 3/4 angle, almost sidearm. Seems as the year have gone by, he's dropped a bit further down, whereas Sammy Steigert, his colleague in the bullpen, has actually raised his angle a bit in recent years, it seems. So both now almost similar. Of course, Maurice Wilhelm, a seasoned veteran of many years in German baseball, hero in the 2018 German Championship, where he had a huge game, I think in the semifinals against Regensburg, where he was a long extra inning game and he kept on putting up zeros on the board. So he's the pitcher, probably one of the most gutsiest performers on the Capitals.
In that game you talked about, he actually threw somewhat of a perfect game in relief. 9 innings with that no base runner allowed. Still incredible to me to this day.
Yeah, that was like one of the most impressive performances in Capitals history, and played a huge part getting them to the finals and their first German title in 2018. So 34-year-old Maurice Wilhelm now on, inheriting some trouble, first and third, only 1 out, and the center fielder leadoff batter for Parma, Aldo Koutsianopoulos, coming up. Infield sort of step into double play depth. Eddie Stammel, but it's going to be tough doubling him up here. Must be a really hard grounder, but we shall see what Mo Wilhelm can do here. And it hits him, so that loads up the bases. So with the bases loaded, that brings up the second baseman, Ezekiel Talevi, looking to break this game wide open very early. But let's see what Mr. Wilhelm
will sink to it. Great in producing ground balls.
Yeah, that'd be the perfect scenario here. But of course, main thing will be throwing strikes for now. Ball 1 to the second baseman for Parma. And that's a deep drive, well, semi-deep to center field. Danny Lankhurst easing under it and tagging at third base, but the throw goes to third. Got him close, and the tag, and he's out. So it's a...
The run did not score. No run scored.
That was like a really good defensive break here. First of all, great throw by Danny Lankhurst to gun down the runner Tommaso Baccioni at third base.
And that's a time play there, so the third out was recorded on the tag before the runner crossed home plate, therefore the run not being awarded to Parma.
I would like to see the replay on that one, but there's no replay in this tournament. Still play. So we go to the bottom of the second inning for the Bonn Capitals. It's going to be second baseman Eddie Stommel leading off here, trying to get the Capitals back into the game. Down by 3. Eddie, of course, another long-time Capitals veteran, over a decade here in Bonn now. Joined the team as a 12-year-old, I think, and the 30-year-old second baseman with a deep drive to right field, but under it, the right fielder, Manuel Gonzalez, to get the first out here in the second inning for the Capitals.
But once again, another good swing. Stommel not being a power guy at all. It was about as far as he can hit it, and he really connected well.
There's speedy center fielder Danny Lankhorst. Just got the big play in the top of the second inning, catching the fly ball and then gunning down a runner at third base. Big hack here, but Luis Lugo gets the better of him, so 0-1 the count to Danny Lankhorst. Breaking ball outside to even the count at 1. 1 ball, 1 strike, 1 out. Oh, swinging a minute at this one, so now in the hole 1 and 2. Ricardo Migliore waiting on deck, the DH for Bonn today. That one's high. To even the count at 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Lankhorst can be a bit over anxious at the plate at times. Still a rather young guy.
And there's a drive into center field. That's a base hit. Nice line drive single for the Capitals center fielder, who actually just celebrated his 25th birthday on Tuesday. So, nice belated birthday present for Mr. Lankhorst. As Ricardo Migliore, another longtime Capital, steps in, trying to keep the rally going and get the Capitals closer again in this game. Number 8 hitter in the lineup. One ball, new ball for Luis Lugo. The powerful lefty starting pitcher, 1.98 m tall, 6'5" in American standards. Long minor league career, so you've seen a lot of ballparks as Ricardo Migliore hits a foul ball. 1 ball, 1 strike. Dane Lankhorst got some speed at first base, so can't rule out stolen base attempt. The Capitals have been rather aggressive on the bases in this tournament. And Luis Lugo keeps him in check.
As I was just informed, the game on Field 2 has just ended, with Brno defeating Curaçao Neptunus by a score of 12-6.
It's kind of an upset here, so...
And that means that Curaçao will have to face off against Heidenheim tomorrow for the 7th place, and one of those teams facing relegation and not being able to play in next year's Champions Cup, with the winner of this year's Confed Cup. They will be earning their spot for the upcoming year.
I would guess that would not have been predicted earlier, prior to this tournament, but that ball looked quite close, and it's called a strike 3 on the inside corner. Rings up Mr. Migliore. So 2 down for the Capitals now, as number 9 batter Nick Michelli.
And as with the game on the second field now over, the public announcer here in the ballpark, now also able to play the walk-up songs of the guys. Gets a whole different energy to the ballpark, to the fans.
That might get the Capitals going. Always a great atmosphere here at Rhein Stadium. As Nick Michelli takes a strike. He's like the Swiss knife on the Capitals, can basically play every position you could imagine, mostly playing left field this year, sometimes being used as a pitcher. Oh, stepping off here. But then Lancor is back to first base.
And he was taking his first 1 or 2 steps to steal. So good thing he just got back.
And that's inside for ball 1. Michelli also filled in as catcher a couple of years ago and did a very admirable job for the Capitals in that year.
It's been a great addition to the team ever since joining from Bremen.
There's a ground ball at third base, first out at second base. That ends the inning. Force out to retire Danny Lankhouse and the Capitals. Nothing across for the Capitals in the second. The score remains Parma 3, Bonn nothing.
Deine Hut. Kein Vielleicht, kein Morgen, kein Gestern.
Das Talent und das Potenzial ist da.
Versuch es, wie du es noch nie versucht hast.
Hoffe ich doch, dass wir am Schluss dann in Berlin dabei sind.
Spiel für deine Geschichte und die Hut.
Die FIBA Eurobasket 2022. Live bei Magenta TV und Magenta Sport.
It hasn't been such a long time since people first started shopping online, and it was easy to keep up with the clicks. Little by little by little by more, the clicks added up to be more than the stores, and e-tailers worked harder than ever before, because they had to keep up with the clicks. All of a sudden, there are so many must-dos if you want to keep selling, like delivery there, no there, or there.
And make it tomorrow, first thing.
No time for borders. Got to stay in control, to stay in the flow and continue to grow. But we'll help you. Keep up with the clicks.
So back here for the top of the third inning. Number 39, right fielder Noel Gonzalez. Grounded out in his first at bat, but of course a very dangerous power bat. Impressive numbers so far in this Champions Cup tournament. As Maurice Wilhelm in relief of Christian Tomzig gets strike 2 here. The almost sidewinding Capitals veteran right-hander. There's a hard ground ball, but foul. Mo Willem joined the Capitals in 2013, so he's approaching almost 10 years here. There's a ground ball to Eddie Stammel at second base. The throw, and Dan Lampunt with the catch to complete the putout. 4-3 as they score. This play, out number 1. And that brings up dangerous shortstop Manuel Joseph, number 13, with a big 2-run blast in the top of the first inning to get Parma on the scoreboard. Deep fly ball beyond the reach of Danny Lankhorst in center field for a 2-run shot for Manuel Joseph. Now facing a different pitcher, of course, Maurice Wilhelm, after Christian Tomzig started the game for the Capitals. But Max Schmitz with a quick hook and another deep drive to center field. This time, though, it looks as if Danny Lankhorst can get under it. Makes the catch in deep center field, a couple of steps before the warning track. So 2 down. Nice start for Maurice Wilhelm to the third inning. Trying to keep things close as the Capitals bats will try to claw back in this contest to have the honor of facing Amsterdam tomorrow night in the final of this 8-team tournament to determine the 2022 winner of the Champions Cup. Of course, this is a replay of the final from last year, I think.
Yeah, it is. And Parma beat Bonn last year by a score of 6-4.
Of course, Parma expected to go deep, whereas Bonn was the big surprise last year. And that's a nice pitch by Maurice Wilhelm. Big swing, and the count is 0-2. So the Capitals sort of left their mark on the European baseball map. And of course trying to build on that for this year as the host, as Wilhelm misses way outside. The ball goes to the backstop, but nothing on the bases, so no problem. And we shall continue at 1-2 for the shortstop for Parma. And a high fly ball. Danny Lankos racing in, but Willie Lee in right field. Under it, makes the catch to retire the side. First 1-2-3 inning for the Capitals. Strong relief pitching by Maurice Wilhelm. It remains Parma 3, Capitals 0 as we head to the bottom of the third.
Jetzt am Schlag mit der Rückennummer 30. Shotstop, Eric.
So, back here. The Capitals back with the leadoff batter, Eric Brank, starting the bottom of the third inning, trying to rally the Capitals back from a 3-0 deficit. As Luis Lugo misses on the first pitch, bouncing in front of home plate for ball one to Eric Brank. That's on the inside corner for strike one. Capital shortstop has been with the club for over 7 years now. Also a vital part of the 2018 championship team. But swings and misses at this pitch to find himself in a 1-2 hole.
The changeup has been pretty effective a few times that Lugo's thrown it.
And just got a piece of that one to stay alive. Count remains at 1-2. Rank turned 30 years old this year in late March. So probably perfect baseball age.
Yeah, he's got quite a few years left in him.
That was inside, it seemed, so count evens at 2-2. And this one foul tip, but in the mid of catcher Alberto Mineo for a strikeout. Out number one here in the third inning against the Capitals. And that brings up Wilson Lee, the right fielder, number 21, who lined a single in his first at-bat. Also unusual lefty thrower and right-handed swinger. That doesn't happen all that often. but in Willie's case, an Australian on the Capitals team. Another big swing and a miss. 0-2.
And even more impressive, he's that big of a power guy, but also pitches occasionally, as he did yesterday.
And quite effective, but this time Lugo gets the upper hand. So back-to-back strikeouts here in the third. As Lugo seems to be easing in here and getting his pitches more and more under control. So the Capitals have to bring their A game against Lugo. Now Danny Sanchez, the third baseman, trying his best. Got hit by a pitch in the first inning, where the Caps had a little rally going that didn't lead to anything though. And another inside pitch, but this time Sanchez skips out of the way. Ball one.
He likes to go to the opposite field, take pitches that are on the outer part of the strike zone. So they did their scouting well, pounding him inside here.
But so far, Sanchez patient enough to lay off these two pitches, so up in the count 2-0. Of course, Capitals need base runners. That one too high, so 3-0 the count. The park fills up more and more. Also with the other game finished.
For the first time this year that the outfield stands also
swinging
filled.
3-0, but this is a ground ball to the shortstop, Manuel Joseph, and that's a third out, so nothing across for the Capitals in the third, as Parma keeps its lead 3-0.
Gespielt hier in Bonn in der Rheinau im zweiten Halbfinale des heutigen Tages. Parma führt nach wie vor mit 3-0. Das ist jetzt auch gleich wieder der Oberhälfte.
So, top of the fourth inning, as big first baseman Alex Sambucci steps into the plate to lead off the fourth inning for Parma against right-hander Maurice Wilhelm in relief for the Capitals. So far, so good for Mr. Wilhelm.
The Parma offense. And first baseman Alex Sambucci leading off.
And a strike.
Taken all the way on the first pitch.
Sambucci got hit by a pitch in the second inning and came around to score on that Alberto Mineo double to right field that Willie Lee didn't pick up all that cleanly. I think it's got scored an error in the meantime. Although the 1-2 pitch by Wilhelm and a ground ball to shortstop Eric Brank, and throws to first for the first out in the fourth inning. And that'll bring up Alberto Mineo. leadoff guy, number 11 center fielder Aldo Koutsianopoulos. Longest name in the tournament, I suppose, but a very speedy and strong player for Parma. He fouls back the first pitch. Of course, sorry again for some technical difficulties. A lot of people using their mobile devices here in the park, and that brings it to some limitations in this nice park. So we apologize for any technical issues you might encounter while watching this game. 0-2 the count, meanwhile, to the Parma center fielder, who has gone 0 for 1 with a flyout and hit by pitch. And now a strikeout. Second strikeout for Maurice Wilhelm, back-to-back actually. Last out in the fourth also was a strikeout. So here is Ezekiel Talebi, the second baseman, number 43 for Parma. 1 for 2 so far. And a deep fly ball to right field as Wilson Lee watches it go. Home run for Talebi. Didn't look that hard, but it had carry and carried over the right field fence. Solo shot to tack on another run. 4-0 Parma here. Nice shot by Talebi, as he's greeted by his teammates. And that brings up the very dangerous power bat, Noel Gonzalez, the right fielder. 0 for 2 today, though, with 2 groundouts to second base. So let's see whether Mo Wilhelm can keep him in check a third time. There's a ground ball to first base and picked up by Dane Lampard, who takes it himself, steps on first base, unassisted for the second out. That was quick. And now the shortstop with number 13, Manuel Joseph Timo, actually a long name, Manuel Marcello Joseph Timo, but we have been told that he prefers the last name Joseph. Hope to not cause any diplomatical crisis here, but 1 ball, 2 outs here in the 5th. And another strike on the outside corner, who's really been like painting the outside corner this evening here. Takes a step back, adjusts his uniform, cap, to get ready for the next pitch. And here's the windup and the delivery by Maurice Wilhelm. Check swing. Did he go?
It was called
by the umpire anyway. Looked pretty good. So 1-2 the count with 2 outs here. And a fly ball to right field, but that should be no problem for Wilson Lee. Gets under it, makes the catch, and returns to the dugout. But another run on the big home run by Ezekiel Talebi to make it 4-0 Parma here after 4.5 innings of play. So, bottom of the fifth inning and bottom of the Bonn batting order. Here with center fielder Danny Lankhorst stepping in as the leadoff guy here in the fifth. Lankhorst with a single in his last and only at-bat so far today. But Luis Lugo in command so far, 4 scoreless innings with 4 strikeouts. Just 2 hits allowed, no walks, so very strong performance by the lefty pitcher, who now evens the count at 1. That one bounces away from the catcher. So it's 2-1 to the longtime Capital center fielder. Has replaced Kevin van Meensel in center field this year, who moved on to the Hamburg Steelers. Foul backed by Dan Lankhorst. He's been slowly eased into regular playing time over the past few years here. And now the main center fielder for Bonn this year.
Really strong defensively. Hasn't always had the greatest success at the plate, but steadily improving and getting better.
But this time, swings and misses for strike number 3. 5th strikeout for Lugo. And that'll bring up Ricardo Migliore, the DH for Bonn, with number 77. Who also struck out in his first at-bat, so trying to do better here the second time around against the veteran Parma left-hander Luis Lugo. Long career in the USA for the Cleveland Indians, where he came up as a prospect through the minor leagues, all the way to AAA for the Chicago Cubs eventually. So quite an impressive career, not reaching the majors though, but getting close. And of course, as a left-hander, you never know, careers can get prolonged, and we have seen many left-handers thrive later in their careers. So if you have a left arm and throw like Luis Lugo, you definitely have a shot, and proving in this game that he's a really good pitcher. But now falling behind 3-0 to Ricardo Migliore, as the Caps are trying to get back into this game, get the crowd going, some clapping.
Just 2 hits through 4 in the third. He's been really impressive out there. The Bonn offense not showing their strongest side just yet.
And there's ball 4. That's the first walk given up by Lugo here in the 5th inning and in the entire game. So Migliore reaches first base. And here is Nick Michelli, the left fielder. Throwback baseball player, short swing, knows his baseball. Trying to bunt, but checking and taking ball number 1 by Luis Lugo.
He had a great game yesterday against San Marino, reaching all 4 times, 2 singles, 2 walks. After he's been struggling at the plate for a bit now this
Quick
season.
mount conference here, as I assume that's the pitching coach running out, seeing something he didn't like, as Lugo walked the previous batter and now behind Nick Michelli as well. Maybe some mechanical issue or something he wanted to interrupt, so conference over. As catcher Alberto Mineo heads back behind the plate. And ready to go with the next pitch for Luis Lugo against Nick Michelli with a run on first base. Ricardo Migliore also pretty speedy. This one inside and low. So Lugo kind of losing the strike zone over the last few pitches after being very efficient before this game. 6 straight balls. And that's a pretty deep drive by Nick Michelli. Going back, the left fielder, going back, and it's out of here. Two-run home run for Nick Michelli just over the left field wall to get the Capitals on the scoreboard and back into the game. Nice comeback here by the bottom of the Bonn order with Riccardo Migliore working on a walk, and then Nick Michelli with a two-run home run just over the left field wall.
And he's really not a power guy, more of a singles quality at bat kind of guy.
But got a hold of this one and took this ball out of the park. And Eric Brink shows bunt and takes a ball. So suddenly some issues here for Luis Lugo.
That's just a big energy boost for the entire team and for the crowd here at the ballpark.
And Eric Brink trying to step in and carry this on. Now 2-0. We can't see the bullpen and whether Parma is getting relief help ready, but for now Lugo had been so strong for the first 4 innings and basically dominated the Capitals. But now in the 5th inning, with some music and the crowd getting into it, this ball game suddenly close again. As Eric Brink takes another ball, and it's 3-0.
There actually is a right-hander throwing out there in the bullpen, as you can see on one of our camera feeds.
So, Parma manager Gianguido Poma taking no chances here to get some help ready if needed, as Luis Lugo tries to settle in here. Keep in mind he had a 2-inning outing a couple of days ago, so he doesn't have full rest, so maybe this intense game, of course, might tire him. Don't have the pitch count at hand, but
it's at 72 right now, so after 4 1/3.
Still all right, but I don't know how many he threw a couple of days ago. So there's a walk for Eric Brink. So Capitals actually have the tying run coming up to the plate now in Wilson Lee. We'll see whether Palmer, manager, I think he's pointing towards his bullpen. But there's more people running out there, so I think there might be another arm getting ready here. So, runner at first base with 1 out, and Wilson Lee, who is 1 for 2 so far today with a single and a strikeout. The strong Australian right fielder who can also pitch, as shown in yesterday's win over Neptunus Rotterdam. And here's the pitch, and a deep drive way to center field. That ball is way, way out of here. And it ties the game at 4. 2-run home run for Wilson Lee, and all of a sudden the Capitals are right back in it, tying this game on 2 big swings. First by Nick Michelli and now by Willie Lee. This was a no-doubter, unlike the Michelli home run, which was kind of close. This one looked like a blast right off the bat and went all the way into center field to tie up this game. And here comes manager Gianguido Poma.
And just like that, in just a couple of pitches, lose the starting pitcher for Parma, going from complete dominance to 4 earned runs this inning, and it's now going to be pulled after just 4 1/3.
So, yeah, it looked like an awesome pitching line through 4, and now suddenly looks rather pedestrian. So Lugo possibly tiring here in the 5th and making this a very close game. We'll see who's brought in by Gianguido Poma to try to avoid further damage here.
It's number 37 out there.
And it's number 37, Marc-André Habeck. Pretty German-sounding name, maybe from Südtirol, who knows? So Habeck, with his second appearance in the tournament, he already had a game where he threw 3 scoreless innings, allowing just 1 hit and 3 strikeouts. So good start to the tournament for Mr. Habeck, and we shall see how he fares against the Capitals here as he enters in relief of the left-hander Luis Lugo here in the bottom of the 5th. In and out tie game, 4-4 after two two-run shots by the Capitals. Nick Michelli with the first one, and then a big blast by Wilson Lee to tie things up here. And now a new pitcher for Parma, Habeck, born in 1993. Marc-André René Habeck, actually, who has gone 4-0 in league play in Italy with a 2.88 ERA, 25 innings pitched so far, 20 hits allowed, 6 walks, 36 strikeouts, so seems to have good control and also gets his share of strikeouts. Pretty nice ratio, well over 10. So we shall see how the Capitals fare against this hard-throwing right-hander. And third baseman Danny Sanchez will be the first Capitals batter to try his best against the new pitcher for Parma. Crowd really into it now, making a lot of noise to try to rattle the new pitcher for Parma and give some energy boost to Danny Sanchez. That's a nice hard pitch, but just outside 1-0. Definitely looks like a hard throw as well. Certainly in the 90s, I would say, without a radar gun at hand, but there's a first strike on the outside corner. 1-1 the count now. One batter out. The only out in this inning was a leadoff strikeout by Danny Lankhorst. But this game seemed to be like a pretty comfortable thing for Parma. But not anymore, as the Capitals struck back with two two-run home runs to tie things up. 2-1 the count now to Danny Sanchez, who leans in and lines the ball, but right into the glove of second baseman Ezekiel Talebi, who gets the second out for Parma. And that brings up Danny Lamphunt, first baseman, to the plate.
Also a great power hitter now
0 for 2 so far. See how the hard stuff works for Mr. Lamphunt. Looking pretty good this tournament so far. Veteran bat, of course, who has seen most of it, or all of it maybe. Lamphunt lines it, but also caught by the third baseman. So actually two well-struck balls, but right into the gloves of fielders. First one to Talebi at second base, and this one to Tommaso Battioni. No further damage, so good work by Habeck on the mound in relief for Parma. Score tied at 4 after 5 innings of play.
Deine Hut. Kein Vielleicht, kein Morgen, kein Gestern.
Das Talent und das Potenzial ist da.
Versuch es, wie du es noch nie versucht hast.
Aber ich glaube, dass wir am Schluss dann in Berlin dabei sind.
Spiel für deine Geschichte und die Hut.
Die FIBA Eurobasket 2022. Live bei Magenta TV und Magenta Sport.
It hasn't been such a long time since people first started shopping online, and it was easy to keep up with the clicks. Little by little by little by more, the clicks added up to be more than the stores, and e-tailers worked harder than ever before, because they had to keep up with the clicks. All of a sudden, there are so many must-dos if you want to keep selling, like delivery there, no there, or there.
And make it tomorrow. First thing.
No time for borders. Gotta stay in control to stay in the flow and continue to grow. But we'll help you. Keep up with the clicks.
So suddenly we have a ball game here, tied at 4 as we enter the 6th inning. 4 on 5th inning by the Capitals. And this brings up the DH Cesare Astori, the big power bat for Parma. 0 for 2 in this game, but a lot of damage in the tournament, and of course impressive totals in the Italian league, where he's one of the big bats for this team. First place in the Premier Group A phase, I think it's called, with the top 4 teams competing against each other, where Parma is leading with a 5-2 record after a 14-0 record in the preliminary round. This one a pretty high fly ball. Danny Lankhorst under it to make the catch for the first out of the inning.
And as the past few innings have really flown by, it's impressive to see. It's his 5th inning in relief already. Maurice Wilhelm looking very comfortable out there.
Also pretty quick moving game. We're not even at the 1.5 hour mark already in the 6th inning, so that's pretty smooth pitching, especially lately by Mo Wilhelm, and also most of the game for Luis Lugo, the starter, until he ran into trouble in the bottom of the 5th. Now Alex Zambucci, the big first baseman, who takes a strike from Maurice Wilhelm. And there's a ground ball to Eric Brank, who has time and throws to Daniel Lampard at first base for the second out. 6-3.
2 very quick outs once again.
And here is Alberto Mineo, the catcher, who's 2 for 2 with 2 doubles, so better pay attention to him here. Whether he can have another one, and
The Bonn battery, of course, aware of that. Might try to work around him here a little.
especially with 2 outs and the bottom of the order coming up. But a strike to start off things here for Maurice Wilhelm. And another deep drive, that could be trouble. Danny Lankhorst racing, but this one splits the gap and skips over the center field wall. So another double, ground rule double here. So 3 doubles for Alberto Mineo. Very impressive day for the Parma catcher. Double in the second inning to right field. I think the next one went to left field and this one to center field. So he can hit it to all fields apparently.
No,
Very
it was
good
a change up. Not a bad pitch.
And took it right there down to deep center field. So running in scoring position for Parma as Tommaso Battioni, the third baseman, is coming up. Battioni, of course, 1 for 2 so far in this game. Had a single in the second inning of Capital starting pitcher Christian Tomzik. Then was the key final out at third base to end a potentially devastating rally. And now the game is tied for now, but potential go-ahead run at second base with 2 out though. As a foul ball by Battioni to take the count to 0-2. So Maurice Wilhelm threw 3 innings in the game on Wednesday. So we'll see how much he has left in the tank, but as we pointed out earlier, he has his special moments in big games and doesn't really care about things as pitch count or how much he has thrown recently. Just an old school gamer as Battioni fouls the ball out of play.
You can be sure he's going to be throw as long as Max Schmitz is going to let him.
Yeah, I think it's tough taking the ball away from Maurice Wilhelm. Really grinds it out there, and nerves of steel, as they say. And a weak ground ball, just barely foul. It stayed on the line quite long, looked foul, but then stayed on the chalk quite a bit. Just skipped foul in front of the third base bag to Capital's third baseman Danny Sanchez. And now a long walk back for Tommaso Battioni, who had run all the way to first base and who slowly walks it back as his bat is waiting for him standing next to home plate. Nice balancing act there.
Wilhelm's been very effective in 4.1 innings. He's just used 50 pitches, so he's got a lot left, I think, here. If he can keep it up the way he's thrown so far.
Only blemish is the solo home run by Ezekiel Talevi in the 5th to make it 4-0 briefly, but now obviously a tie game. Here's the pitch and a ground ball to third base. Danny Sanchez throws to first, and nice stretch by Danny Lampant to retire the side and leave a runner stranded at second base. Nothing across for Parma other than the double by Alberto Mineo. We go to the bottom of the 6th inning in this tie game. Parma for Capitals as the home team. Winner in group play. So now batting from the left side for the first time is Capitals catcher Vinny Arends. Of course, against starting pitcher Luis Lugo. Arends went 0 for 2, batting right-handed, now trying his best as a lefty bat, switch hitting catcher. And Marc-André Habeck with the first pitch, which is fouled off by Vinny Arends for strike 1.
Mistake pitch as well, fastball that got way too much at the plate. And Arends not able to keep that one fair.
That one way outside, ball 1. And a pretty high fly ball to straightaway center field almost. No problem for Aldo Koutsoyanopoulos, the center fielder for Parma, who puts in his glove for the first out. And as you can hear the crowd getting excited for their fan favorite second baseman with number 42, Eddie Stammel, of course, number 42, allowed in Europe. Obviously retired in Major League Baseball in honor of Jackie Robinson, with Jackie Robinson Day once a year in the major leagues. But Eddie Stammel also honoring this famous player. And getting the crowd excited. But taking a strike. So down 0-2. Stammel 0 for 2 so far in this game. And this one skips outside and low. Stammel always known for long at-bats and working deep counts.
He's been leading the Bundesliga in walks several years.
This time swings and misses at a high fastball though. For out number 2. And here's Danny Lankhorst, the center fielder, trying his best with 2 outs here. 1 for 2 so far this game. And lines another base hit into center field. So Danny Lankhorst now 2 for 3 on the day and 7 for 16 on the tournament actually, so hits have been falling in for Danny Lankhorst.
And there's actually been a lot of production out of the bottom 3 guys all tournament long and in this game as well.
Yeah, highlighted by the Nick Michelli home run today. And here Ricardo Migliori's base on balls in the bottom of the 5th inning was sort of the Kickstarter to rattle starting pitcher Luis Lugo, who had been dominant thus far, and then the wheels came off and the Capitals tied the game. Migliori now watching as Marc-André Habeck checks on first base to hold speedy Danny Lankhorst close. Always a stolen base threat, the Capital center fielder. So certainly Habeck being aware of this threat. And the pitch foul back, nice swing, but couldn't get around it properly, so 1 ball, 1 strike, 2 outs. The check on first. But standing back is Danny Lankhorst. Of course, the winner of this game will meet Amsterdam in tomorrow night's final. See, this game, of course, a rematch of last year's final as Lankhorst tries to second base, and the throw, and he's out. Perfect throw right into the ready glove of Ezekiel Talevi by catcher Alberto Mineo, who's really having a game on both sides of the ball. 3 doubles so far, and now a caught stealing of the pretty speedy Danny Lankhorst. So well done by Parma to end this rally here in the bottom of the 6th inning. And the game remains tied at 4. So, top of the 7th inning, fast-moving game here. Very close contest now between Parma and Bonn. Parma struck first with 3 runs in the 1st and 2nd innings, and then another one in the 5th to take a 4-0 lead, but Bonn came back with 4 in the bottom of the 5th to tie things up. And now, leading off for Parma here in the 7th is the left fielder Stefano De Simoni, who has gone 0 for 2 today. 53 pitches so far for Maurice Wilhelm in 4 2/3 of an inning. Very efficient with his pitches, as there's another strike. So basically a strike-throwing machine, averaging barely over 10 pitches an inning, which is really impressive. Usually you would say 15 to 20 pitches would be a normal number of pitches for an inning, but Maurice Wilhelm making the best of his strong stuff today and helping the Capitals to gradually get back into this game, and now tied up. And this one is a called strike 3. Strikeout looking again to Stefano De Simoni. So De Simoni 0 for 3 now with 2 strikeout looking. But it brings us back to the top of the Parma order with center fielder Aldo Kotisoyanopoulos.
He's been not scared to let his defense help him out, Wilhelm on the mound. Just throwing strike after strike.
Yeah, pounding the strike zone and working pretty quickly as well. Keeps a nice rhythm here. And there's a nice line drive single by the Parma center fielder, who, as we mentioned earlier, is a big stolen base threat with already 13 stolen bases in the regular season down in Italy. So Vinny Arens and Mo Wilhelm better pay attention. And of course, Ezekiel Talevi is a big threat of his own. He hit a solo home run in the 5th inning. So Talevi is 2 for 3 in this game. Scored 2 runs.
Wilhelm not too quick to the plate either. But a big leg kick coming from the set position. So you might see the Parma center fielder running here.
Pitch inside, ball 1. Checks back the runner, just looking over. Another extra step here, so this might be the pitch. But swung on and foul tipped against catcher is Vinny Arens, protector. 1-1 the count now, even to Ezekiel Agustin Talevi. '28-year-old infielder right-handed bat. Wearing number 43 for Parma. Of course, a 318 batting average in league play down in the Italian league. So definitely a threat, as was on display here, but this one a high foul ball way down in to the crowd down the right field line. And the count is 1-2 for strike throwing Maurice Wilhelm. And there's the stolen base attempt. Great throw by Vinny Ahrens, but safe. At second base is Aldo Koutsogiannopoulos. Stolen base to get into scoring position. Count evens at 2-2 in the meantime. Pitch was a bit high. So Mo Wilhelm trying to keep the game tied here in the top of the 7th inning. And of course, Parma with the big guns at bat and coming up, looking to retake the lead. Ground ball up the middle. Eddie Stommel there. Close play at first. Just safe. And that means 2 men on now, first and third, as Koutsogiannopoulos moves over to third base. Telebi came out sprinting out of the batter's box and really ran down hard down the first base line to be safe at first base. So a bit of trouble here for Maurice Wilhelm and the Capitals. 2 guys on, and the big imposing bat of Noel Gonzalez, right fielder, but so far 0 for 3 in this game with 3 ground outs after some massive hitting performance in the tournament so far, and of course also very dangerous bat in Italy. Batting third for a reason, as he takes strike 1. Capitals crowd trying to help Wilhelm to stay focused and motivate him by loud clapping. Check at first base. Ezekiel Talebi doesn't get too comfortable there. And there's a hit just foul out of the reach of Daniel Lampunt. That could have been trouble had it been fair, but fortunately for the Capitals, just a bit foul. So 0-2 the count to Mr. Gonzalez, the right fielder for Parma. Here in the top of the 7th inning in a tie game, 4-4, but Parma looking to retake the lead here with its power bat. Noel Gonzalez, and the ground ball to Danny Lampard. Throws to second, Eric Brank back to first. And yes, it's a double play to end the inning. We scored 3-6-3. Nice play by Daniel Lampard and Eric Brank, and they call it the pitcher's best friend, and that's true for Maurice Wilhelm as he keeps Parma off the scoreboard yet again, even with some trouble. So we go to the bottom of the 7th inning, and it's tied at 4.
Score remains 4-4, and now it's time for 7th inning stretch of hits, Bewegung in die Reihe bringen. 7th inning stretch. Innings gespielt im Bonn der Rheinauer. 4-4 der Spielstand zwischen Parma und dem Bonn Capitals.
So, some baseball tradition after the 7th inning stretch. Music, Take Me Out to the Ball Game. Sweet Caroline Some Boston Red Sox tradition, of course. Neil Diamond classic. Just become a baseball classic song, of course, for many, many years. Being played down at Fenway Park in Boston. While the Capitals look to take the lead here for the first time this game, as Capitals DH Riccardo Migliore leads off the bottom of the 7th. Migliore, of course, with a very important base on balls back in the 5th. That sort of started the rally to come back into the game. Scored in the big Nick Michelli 2-run home run. And lines the ball into right field for a leadoff single. So, leadoff man on. I think for the first time in today's game for the Capitals. So, Migliore with the opposite field single into right field. And Nick Michelli, one of the heroes of today's game, of course, with the 2-run home run a couple of innings ago, steps in, this time against Marc-André Habeck for the first time, who's in his 2nd inning of relief. Actually, the 3rd inning of relief. He came in the 5th, and now it's in the 7th. Bunt attempt by Michelli, but way foul against the backstop. Strike 1. So as you can see, Nick Michelli has all types of plays in him. Home run in the 5th, now bunt attempt in the 7th. Scrappy player, throwback, really fun to watch. Also very versatile, plays several positions. And takes a strike here though, so count runs to 0-2. Now, 3rd baseman Tommaso Battioni had been playing in, but now moves back a few steps behind 3rd base with 2 strikes. As Habeck throws, and Michelli can't hold up, swings and misses for strike 3, strikeout for Habeck. First out in the inning for the Parma right-hander.
Close call on that swing made by the home plate umpire himself.
As Eric Brank tries to do better here with the runner on first base in form of Riccardo Migliore. Brank, of course, with 2 strikeouts and a walk, scored on the big Willie Lee home run in the 5th, I'm sorry. And trying to keep things going for the Capitals here. Inside for a ball. 1-1 the call, the count even to Eric Brank. As Habeck checks the sign by his catcher Alberto Mineo. And delivers a fastball, swung and missed by Eric Brank. 1-2. It's also pretty good relief pitching by Marc-André Habeck so far. After the meltdown in the 5th by starting pitcher Luis Lugo. And this one's high, 2-2. Of course, Wilson Lee on deck for Bonn. Waiting patiently in the on-deck circle, swinging his bat. As the cowbells are being waved. Oh, that was a nice pitch, but just outside. So the count's full, 3-2 to Eric Brank. Wonder whether Riccardo Migliore will be running with the pitch. Could be a typical situation to get the runner going, but
Not the fastest runner out there.
plus Eric Brank with 2 strikeouts so far today, so hard throwing right-hander. But Marc-André Habeck wants to make sure that Migliore doesn't get too happy at first base and stays close to the bag. And the 3-2 pitch. And that one is a called strike 3. Nice pitching by Marc-André Habeck to strike out Eric Brank. So 2 down. And here's the right fielder, number 21, Wilson Lee, who of course is 2 for 3 in this game. Of course, the big 2-run home run, a mammoth shot into deep, deep center field to tie the game in the 5th. That was the end of Luis Lugo, who had been cruising through 4, but then another big swing trying to add another 2-run shot here, but Habeck gets the better here, 0-1. Another big swing. So
Breaking ball way out of the zone, caught him chasing. What's Lee maybe trying to do a little too much after his mammoth home run back in the 5th.
of course you can understand after such a big blast and such an important shot. Now Migliore going. Oh, that is a good throw again, and there's no chance at all for Riccardo Migliore. He was out by several steps and takes the bat out of the hands of Wilson Lee.
But it will get him back up in the bottom of the 8th with a fresh count.
That's true. But after 7 innings, it's Parma 4, Bonn 4.
Pitcherwechsel. Beide Bonn Capitals. Nicht auf dem Mount mit der Rücknummer 22. Maurice Wilhelm. Quinn neu auf dem Mount. Der Mann mit der Rücknummer 3. Zack Dodson.
So, we're back, and also a pitching change for the Capitals. And here he is, number 3, veteran left-hander Zack Dodson, the Capitals' ace starting pitcher, who actually started the game on Wednesday. Original plan had been to start on Tuesday and be available as today's starting pitcher, of course, by Max Schmitz, but the rain didn't allow that plan, so Dodson not available for a full game today, but here he is in the top of the 8th inning. So Max Schmitz wasn't kidding when he said all hands on deck. And Zack Dodson, of course, strong Capitals pitcher, made it AAA with the Pittsburgh Pirates as a professional and now has been playing in Bonn in Mexico in recent years. Of course, very difficult batters coming up with Manuel Joseph, the shortstop, leading things off here in the top of the 8th inning.
Dodson sitting low 90s with his fastball. And just everything that he throws moves, nothing straight. Can be very deceiving for hitters.
Usually also pretty good control in spite of the movement on his pitches. Although the last outing he had in Germany was his first clunker of the year actually. But usually he's a good bet for 7 innings of 1 or 2 run baseball. Ground ball to Eric Brank, throws long throw and gets the out at first base. Nice throw by Eric Brank to get shortstop Manuel Joseph for the first out. As we score at 6-3. Out number 1, and that brings up DH Cesare Astori.
You'll have to keep in mind it might take him 1 and 2 batters to get in here. Of course, not used to coming in from the bullpen late in games. messes up your entire routine that you build up as a starting pitcher.
Yeah, he's been a starting pitcher for many years now. Had some bullpen time in the USA as a minor leaguer. Nice breaking ball here for strike one. So of course, great performance by Maurice Wilhelm with 5 2/3 innings off relief, just allowing 1 run, the solo home run by Ezekiel Talevi. Otherwise, almost perfect, scattering 5 hits, 3 strikeouts, no walks, just I think 65 pitches over those 5 2/3. That's a deep fly ball. It's just moving left with Nick Michelli back, but he makes the catch just in front of the warning track for a long second out against the dangerous Cesare Astori.
And for a second, it sounded and looked like he might have gotten all of that one, but just got under it a bit too much. Hit it a mile high. That stayed up there quite some time.
And that brings up the first baseman, Alex Sambucci. 0 for 2 today with the run scored after a hit by pitch early in the game. Now facing Zack Dodson, who paints the outside corner for strike one. So Bonn has been in 4 close games now. All 4 games have been really close.
And really tight until the end.
So it's going to be a test for Parma, who has had some easy, high-scoring games, 2 easy wins and an unimportant loss, where they sort of saved their pitching for the more important games, like today. So we'll see how Parma does in a tense and close game. As Zack Dodson falls behind 3-1 now to Alex Sambucci. And of course, Alberto Mineo, the catcher, on deck, who's 3 for 3 with 3 doubles so far, so you don't really want anybody in the bases for him. But here he is, ball 4 for Alex Sambucci. Draws the walk with 2 outs. And let's see whether Zack Dodson finds a weapon to get catcher Alberto Mineo out. Mineo now 7 for 13 this tournament with 4 doubles and a home run.
Zack Dodson is especially tough on left-handed hitters.
That's who also keeps the ball in the park usually. Keeps the ball, doesn't give up many home runs. Swing and a miss here. Overmatched on that one. Trying to shoot another double probably, but Dodson gets ahead 0-1.
Great first pitch, painting the hind corner with that fastball.
And nice breaking pitch in there for strike 2. It's crunch time here in the 8th inning. And swing and a miss, and Dodson with the big strikeout, getting the crowd upstanding in awe of the capital left-hander in an unusual role to keep Parma at check. Game remains tied at 4 as we go to the bottom of the 8th inning. So, we enter the bottom of the 8th inning, and pitching change for Parma by manager Gianguido Poma. He brings in his relief ace, Carlos Manuel Contreras Abreu. First appearance in this tournament. In Italy, of course, he's been a mainstay, going 2-0 with a 1.80 ERA 20 innings pitch, 11 hits allowed, 10 walks, and 35 strikeouts for a whopping almost 16 Ks per 9 ratio. So this one is tough to make contact with. Hard throwing right-hander, born in 1991. As Wilson Lee tries his luck against this pitcher. Whoa, swing and a miss on this blazing fastball. 0-1 to Wilson Lee.
Way behind that. Not ready for the heat.
That's a foul ball kind of late on that one, but at least made contact. Let's see whether the heat keeps coming or Contreras mixes things up a bit. Of course, Dovidas never outcast the other hard-throwing pitcher in this tournament. Nice breaking ball, but he didn't go around. He checked his swing, so count goes to 1-2 on Capitals right fielder Wilson Lee. And big swing and a miss on this outside heat. First strikeout against Lee, and for Carlos Manuel Contreras Abreu. And of course facing Daniel Sanchez now. So both teams bringing out their ace level stuff here late in the game. Zack Dodson for the Capitals, and now Contreras Abreu for Parma.
No team really having the upper hand right now.
Yeah, this is too close to call as Sanchez takes a hard strike on the outside corner. 0-1. Of course, any run scored here will be really crucial with these two pitchers on the mound. Foul ball by Sanchez to go to 0-2. Wouldn't be surprised to see another extra inning game here. Of course, with two free runners on base, first and second, if we go to extra innings, but still here in the 8th inning. And swing and a miss by Sanchez. So back-to-back strikeouts for the hard-throwing Parma right-hander, Carlos Manuel Contreras Abreu. And Daniel Lampant, the Capitals' first baseman, will try to get something started here with 2 outs in the bottom of the 8th inning of a tie ball game. Swing and a miss on this one. A lot of swinging strikes here.
They're not ready for the fastball at all.
Capitals seem overmatched by this power right-hander, who of course has also dominated the Italian league so far, so Capitals are in good company with several strong teams down in Italy who have also seen no light against this pitcher. Count goes to 0-2. Pitching has been sort of underwhelming this tournament, in my opinion, so far. But this pitcher, and of course, this game has been a well-pitched game overall by both sides. Inside corner, strike 3 called, and Daniel Lampert had no chance at this one. Contreras Abreu strikes out the Capitals' 2-3-4 hitters here in the 8th, and we head to the 9th inning. Still tied at 4 runs apiece. What a nice ball game. Parma struck early with 2 runs in the first, a run in the second. Added another one in the top of the 5th to take a 4-0 lead, and then the Capitals struck back with 4 in the bottom of the 5th inning. Especially two-run home runs by Nick Michelli and Willie Lee. And here we are on the top of the 9th inning with Tommaso Battioni, the third baseman for Parma, leading things off against Zack Dodson. This one called the ball.
Parma and dugout now also starting to really get into it, cheering on their guys.
Ball 2 for the number 8 hitter. Of course, Parma would love to get Battioni on and then possibly try to bunt him over or something, and then have the big guns coming up soon to take the lead here. That's a strike though, 2-1. Bonn seemed totally overwhelmed by the power right-hander Contreras Abreu in the bottom of the 8th, who is almost certain to keep pitching in the 9th.
But he's also a 1 to 2 inning guy, so we'll see how long he can keep that up. Really overpowering on almost every pitch.
Evens the count at 2-2. Yeah, he usually averages 2 innings in Italy. So expect the 9th, and then we shall see if the game continues. But for now, we are still in the top of the 9th inning, and the count is 2-2 to Tommaso Battioni. And the count goes full.
I think that was a foul ball, as he just got a piece of that one on the checked swing.
I briefly checked how Battioni had done so far. 1 for 3 so far in this game. Singled in the 2nd inning. Then a fly out and a ground out. As Zack Dodson tries to get the first man up here in the 9th. And it's a ground ball to Eric Brank, pretty slow, so has to hurry up, but gets him by a couple of steps. Daniel Lampunt with a put out at first for the first out. Big out, of course. You don't want the leadoff runner on in such a close game here in the 9th.
Good play.
So it looks like a pinch hitter coming up for Parma. This looks like number 28.
26.
26. And it's Sebastiano Poma, the coach's son.
And he's also the team captain, as yesterday I was broadcasting the Parma game together with our Italian colleagues who were joining us here in Bonn. Came all the way from Parma to broadcast their team games, and he told me about him being the team captain, really the leader of this team, but battling some injury right now, so he always is used as a pinch hitter.
And now in an 0-2 hole against Zack Dodson. Lefty, as we mentioned before, very tough on lefties, especially the Capitals ace. In an unusual spot here in relief late in the game, but there's a strike on a nice changeup by Zachary Dodson. Sebastiano Poma goes down. And now it's up to Aldo Koutsoyanopoulos, the center fielder, to get things started here with 2 outs in the top of the 9th inning. Dodson steps off the mound to reset his uniform, grabs the ball, slowly walks back, taking a breather, maybe taking this in. Great atmosphere here. Actually, the sun's sort of halfway come out. Nice sunset here at Rheinauer. Of course, nice breaking pitch just outside. Call the ball. 1-0. And Dodson throws away the ball to get a new one. This looked quite good, but borderline pitch, which was called just outside. So 1-0 the count to the Parma leadoff man, who is 1 for 3 so far in this game. Had a base hit his last time up in the 7th. And now a ground ball to Zack Dodson, who flips to Daniel Lampunt to retire the side in order. And that, of course, means no runs for Parma in the 9th here. So we got about the 9th tied at 4.
Was soll ich sagen? Jeder Punkt gewinnt
So here we are, crunch time, bottom of the 9th inning, crowd rambunctiously cheering on Vinny Ahrens, who of course has experienced walk-off situations, most recently 2 days ago where he had a walk-off Grand Slam home run against Ostara to win the first game for the Capitals in this tournament. Now, of course, stepping in against the very dominant right-hander Carlos Manuel Contreras Abreu, who blew away the Capitals with 3 strikeouts in the 8th inning. But, of course, Ahrens, who hit a first-pitch fastball for a big blast to center field on Wednesday. Now trying his luck against the hard-throwing Parma right-hander. And the first pitch is low, ball 1.
Great patience, not trying to do too much, swinging at everything, staying patient out there.
I mean, 1 run is enough, however you score it, so definitely take a walk and then try to little ball him home, but for now, Vinny Ahrens at the plate. And that's a slow ground ball. It's going to be tricky, actually, but great play by Contreras Abreu, snagging the ball himself and running to the bag. That was very well played defensively. Could have been much trickier. Very quick off the mound to turn the unassisted play at first base. So now it's up to fan favorite Eddie Stommel, Capitals veteran second baseman wearing number 42. Standing in against Contreras Abreu deck. Hard fastball, just outside and low. Ball 1. Because Stommel, as we mentioned earlier, good at drawing walks. Very patient hitter, not that tall.
But the Parma reliever here has just pounded the zone, thrown a lot of strikes so
This
far.
one, tough one, unhittable pitch, inside corner. 4 ball 1. Crowd not approving of this call as the boos come in. Tough to see from our angle, but count is even 1-1 whether Eddie Stommel likes it or not. One batter out. And that one a bit low. Ball 2. As Contreras is ready. Pitches, and it's a ground ball up the middle. Base hit for Eddie Stommel, who slams his hands together. And the crowd really standing up now. Stommel with a big single here, going with the pitch and taking it up the middle for a 1-out single.
Really timing up the fastball well now. The first 3 here in the bottom of the 9th.
So nice adjustment by the Capitals here. And now Danny Lankhorst up next, who is 2 for 3 so far today. So trying to get this one going.
Been great all tournament, hit after hit after hit.
Big swing here though. 0-1 the count. This is really what you play the game for. It's like those situations, tight ball games all the way. And a high pop fly. Is that going to be in play? First baseman Tambucci checks, but it's just out of play. Right next to the Bonn Capitals dugout for strike number 2. So Danny Lankhorst with an uphill battle down the count, 0-2. Gets a new ball for the next pitch. I would say half the crowd is standing right now, cheering on the Capitals center fielder. The pitch, and it's swung on and missed. And strike 3 against Danny Lankhorst. Can't believe it, thought he checked the swing, but this looked like a swing up here. So, 2 down for the Capitals. And it's the DH Ricardo Migliore now, who will be trying to be the hero for the Capitals with 2 outs. Migliore 1 for 2 so far in this game with 1 base hit and a base on balls. His first game in the tournament. Hadn't played in the 3 group games. And fouls the ball just outside the first baseline.
It was not a comfortable swing. Pretty late on that.
And first baseman was playing right in the line. No doubles defense. Protecting against the extra base hit. Third baseman also playing way over, just 1 meter next to the third baseline to avoid any long doubles down the line. Try to knock the ball down and at worst keep Migliore to a single and Stommel from scoring. This pitch is high though. Ball 1. 1 ball, 1 strike. To Riccardo Migliore, the Capitals' designated hitter, batting 8th in the bottom of the 9th inning in a tie ball game. Semifinals, Champions Cup 2022. Beautiful breaking ball in there for a called strike 2. 1 and 2 now, so Migliore better choke up the bat.
Didn't like what he saw there on 1 and 1. Probably looking for the fastball.
Being prepared for that nice breaking pitch. Let's see. Oh, time called just in the last second while Contreras Abreu was already in his windup. No, like stepping off the mound, kind of annoyed by that late step out.
It's a trend we've been seeing a lot here at the Champions Cups with home plate umpires granting time very, very late.
Fast moving game so far. Here's the pitch, and that's swung on and missed for strike 3. Or actually,
No.
oh,
Just that ball hit the ground.
didn't look like this from up here, but umpires, of course, much closer to action, so doesn't matter. The out is made at first base. So Migliore out for the final out in the 9th, and we're going to extra innings here yet again between the Bonn Capitals and Parma Baseball Club. At 3 runners at second and first base to kick things off here and make scoring much more likely. So Parma starts with Sebastiano Poma, the new left fielder who came in to pinch it in the 9th inning, on second base, and Aldo Koutsogiannopoulos as the free runner at first base, which means 2 pretty fast guys, it seems, on base for Parma.
And we'll see some bunts here on both sides.
We'll
Probably.
see what Ezekiel Talebi does to lead things off here as the second baseman with 2 on. Caps playing first and third way in, being prepared for the bunt. Of course, then it gets tactical with the big boppers coming up. Noel Gonzalez, Manuel Joseph, Cesare Astori. With first base open, you can still always walk a batter to try to get double play ball, which Zack Dodson is quite good at. Getting ground balls. Pick-off play at second base, but the pitch is low and inside for ball 1 as Talebi showed bunt, but then didn't proceed and checked his bat for ball 1. Of course, Capitals will also have 2 free runners on base in the bottom of the 10th inning, regardless of how many runs Parma manages to score up here. And there's a bunt, good one to Zack Dodson, but gets the safe out at first base. Checked at second base. So Talebi gets the job done. Zack to move the runners over to second base and third base, which means the base hit probably scores 2 runs at least to the outfield. Capitals might bring the infield in, looks like it. Eric Brank step back, but Eddie Stommel right on the edge of the grass at second base. Danny Sanchez even with the bag at third, and Daniel Lampant just a step back at first base. Eric Brank also a step behind the grass at short. And here's Noel Gonzalez, the lefty batter, number 3 hitter, who takes strike 1. Gonzalez 0 for 4 today after a great tournament thus far, so not his best game, but of course he could become a big hero now if he gets through with a hit here and Scores at least one, possibly 2 runs for Parma. Runners second and third with only 1 out.
Dodson excelling at striking out left-handed batters. That would, of course, be the ideal result for the Capitals.
Just got a piece of this one at the end of the batch, and Dodson up 0-2, so now he can play around with a few pitches. Of course, also consider the risk of a wild pitch or passed ball if it bounces, so Vinny Ahrens hopefully on top of his game.
And I would be really surprised if he didn't attack him with a slider, just moving outside of the zone, as he's been doing that a lot.
0-2 pitch by Dodson. And that's a fly ball to center field. Should be far enough to score. Poma, thrown by Lankhorst, is not in time. So Parma with the lead now. The first 3 runs scored. Sebastiano Poma with the 5-4 lead. Of course, the second out. And generally, you would say that 1 run is not that much in this situation. But of course, there's very dangerous shortstop Manuel Joseph coming up for Parma. Joseph 1 for 4. Of course, stepping in against Dodson with 2 outs and a runner at second base. The very fast Aldo Koutsianopoulos. And that's a base hit into right field. That's going to be a tough one for Willie Lee. Throws to home plate with a gun of an arm, but safe at home plate. The speed of the Parma center fielder. Big clutch RBI base hit for Manuel Joseph. And a huge, actually, beg your pardon, Noel Gonzalez, of course, who got that big 2-out hit. Now here's Manuel Joseph.
No, it was Manuel Joseph, as Gonzalez hit that sacrifice fly earlier.
Oh, sorry, but... Oh, no, sorry, yeah. Got it. Yo, Cesare Astori is now up. Got mixed up in the emotions here. 2 runs in for Parma, run at first base. And here is the DH, Cesare Astori, who is 0 for 4 today. But, of course, one of the most dangerous bats in the Italian league and in the Parma lineup. Trying to tack on another run or more against Zack Dodson. And a called strike. 0-2. Taking a peek to the next inning, Capitals will have Nick Michelli leading off the bottom of the 10th inning.
He's great at bunting, so he'll be the right man for
we'll
the job.
Ricardo Migliore and Danny Lankhorst as the 3 runners. Lankhorst leading at second base, so pretty fast guy at second. Migliore, I would say, average speed at first. And then Nick Michelli probably trying to bunt the, for now, tying runs over to second and third, and then leave it to the top of the order to drive him in. But here, first of all, Dodson has to get out of the inning, and Astori just got a piece of it to stay alive here with a count of 1-2 and 2 outs. And a runner at first base who definitely cannot score if the Capitals want to have a serious chance of keeping this game open and at least tying things up again in the 10th inning, when their turn at bat is coming up. Dodson with the 1-2 pitch. Checking the runner at first quite along, stepping off. Stare down between base runner Manuel Joseph and pitcher Zack Dodson. Crowd cheering on the lefty. There's the pitch. Swing and a miss. Strike 3. This ends the inning, so Parma scores its 2 free runners to take a 6-4 lead. We'll see what the Capitals can do in the bottom of the 10th and whether they can keep So, here we are. The bottom of the 10th inning. Capitals down by 2. But of course, with the 2 free runners, Danny Lankhorst at second base. And I think we might have a pinch runner here at first base. That could be
It's Colin Usue-Wue.
very speedy, also came in before as a pinch runner in this tournament.
He's a junior, still 18 years of age. Very quick.
Very fast runner, so makes sense to have as much speed as. And of course, Nick Michelli leading off here. Corners in, expecting a bunt. Pitcher checks back to see whether Michelli shows bunt, but no sign so far by the Capitals left fielder. First baseman and third baseman straight up with the base near the edge of the grass. Second short and double play left. There's the bunt by Michelli, and it's a good one. Very close, and the throw to first is in time for the out, but Michelli gets the job done and moves over the runners. Sacrifice bunt. So Capitals have runners at second and third now. And Eric Brank, the shortstop, coming up. Brank facing Contreras Abreu for the first time. 1 for 4 today. Base to the outfield would, of course, tie games, but this one is outside. Ball 1 to the Capital shortstop. I think almost nobody's sitting anymore. Everybody's standing, cheering up Eric Brank. Or, of course, Parma fans for their hard-throwing pitcher. And that's a deep drive into the gap in the outfield.
It's got to get down. It's got to get down. Runner had to hold.
Yes, was too close. So a big drive into the center field gap, but well played defensively. Had a lot of hang time, so runners couldn't take an early lead and had to wait to see the ball drop. So
with the very young runner out there, the last thing he wanted to do was get doubled up at second base, so he had to hold. But still, 2 runners in scoring position as Eric Brank got all the way to second base on that one. So the winning run in scoring position.
Fly ball to the outfield probably could tie the game. Now, pitching conference on the mound first for Gianguido Poma and the entire infield catcher and pitcher to convene to discuss the strategy against the powerful right fielder for the Capitals. First base is open, of course, so you could technically put Lee on first base to get the run. Doesn't matter, though, of course, so because the winning run is at second base, so the first base runner would be meaningless in this situation. So depends on what they feel more comfortable with, facing Willie Lee with his power, or trying their chance with also pitch around Wilson Lee. But there's the base on balls. Intentional walk to Wilson Lee to load up the bases and create force situations at every base.
Danny Sanchez still in his first season with the Capitals. Can become legendary here with one swing of the bat.
Of course. Also pretty fast, so it's not easy to double him up. So I guess getting it out at home would be the preferred scenario for Parma here, unless the ball's hit very hard for potential double play. Middle infield and double play depth, the corners in to get the out at home. Sanchez with a very open stance, standing in and taking ball 1. Of course, no margin of error here for Contreras Abreu. Can't put Sanchez on, so have to be aware of that. 1 ball for Sanchez. 1 out so far. Tying run at third base, winning run at second. Had the length definitely to get a run in, but hooked way foul outside of the ballpark. So,
as most of the bat went flying there.
Yeah, just a little handle left. So Sanchez trying his luck with the new bat now.
Very important. He takes his time, finds good grip on the new bat.
Young Colin Uzo-Vulo,
Derek Frank at second, a lot
veteran
of speed
at
as
second
well.
base, also quite speedy. Not so fast at first base, Wilson Lee. And of course, a veteran base runner too. And big swing and a miss by Sanchez, 1 and 2. Now the upper hand for, oh, he can fare against Daniel Lampunt. But Sanchez, of course, hanging in there and trying to get to the ball and make contact and see what happens. And here's the pitch. And it's down the line, foul, just by a few centimeters. That was a close one. This would have won the game had it been just a few inches towards the left inside of play, but just foul. This nice line drive by Danny Sanchez. So everybody back to the base. Baseball is a game of inches, as they say. 1 out to Danny Sanchez. Big spot in this game. And swing and a miss at this one. Great comeback by Contreras Abreu to strike Sanchez out here. Huge strikeout for the Parma right-hander. As the bat boy delivers new balls to the home plate umpire. Very short little kid. And Daniel Lampunt now has to deliver with 2 outs, the bases loaded for the Capitals. Of course, trying to get all his ability, but taking the first pitch for a called strike 1.
And that was a breaking ball. Of course, with the emotions cooking high.
Be helpless against this one, so now 0-2 and the upper hand for Carlos Manuel Contreras, of course. The tying catcher Alberto Mineo comes out to discuss things with his pitcher. Obviously want to be on the same page here. So here it is, the Capitals with their final, down to their final strike and their final out, and Daniel Lampunt. Clutch performance by Carlos Manuel Contreras. Final score. Capitals fall just short of Amsterdam, so 2 of the favorites in the final. Very gutsy and strong in the stands. Great game for both teams. Unlucky ending for the Capitals. Remember the foul ball by Danny Sanchez, which could have been just fair, a couple of inches towards the left. 5. Carlos Manuel Contreras Abreu wins it. About second base in the 10th. Pretty much dominating the Caps. So we'll head down now to a post-game interview.
The Capitals really put up an amazing fight. Bronze medal, of course, in tomorrow's game.
Rematch with goes, and whether the Capitals can take revenge and at least get the bronze medal here in 3rd place, which would still be an amazing success considering the finalist. Congratulations to manager Gian Guido Poma and his team. Head of organizing this entire Capitals TV, Angela Beckmann, is already on the field, I assume with a microphone, and see who she can have a chat with. Probably Max Schmitz, the Bonn head coach, manager who is heading there. And we'll give it over to Angela now.
Thank you, Max, for coming. Great fight again of your team, right?
They never give up. I said it yesterday, I will say it again. They never give up. Great quality to have. Man, this is heartbreaking to lose that way. Sure, we had our chances, but yeah, it is what it is. The effort and the energy and all their heart is definitely not a reason why we lost today.
I mean, you're of course you had to bring your best.
Always play to win. Every time we step on a baseball field, we try to win the ball game. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. Otherwise, we wouldn't play in the semifinals in the Champions Cup. And Yeah, baseball is sometimes funny. Baseball is definitely a game of inches, and I congratulate Parma on their win. They're a great team. I mean, we faced off twice last year, battled us twice. We gave them a good battle today, and I wish them all the best of luck for tomorrow.
Do you think you and your team can find some energy for the third place tomorrow?
I said it before, I will say it again. We always want to win. If we step on a baseball field, it's not going to change for tomorrow.
Good luck.
Smack Schmitz, obviously disappointed but also proud of his team, and a very gutsy performance by the Capitals in the semi-final, just barely missing out on advancing to the finals. Of course, this one key foul ball by Sanchez. Carlos Manuel Contreras Abreu here for Parma to shut things down. 7 strikeout. That's a really impressive performance under this pressure situation. Plus, of course, the good job by the Parma offense, most notably, of course, the big RBI hit by Manuel Joseph in the top of the 10th inning. Ezekiel Talibi getting the bunt down to get the runners over, so also well played by Parma. And then the nice base hit by Joseph to score 2 runs. Well, so that's it for today here at Rhino Stadium. Long day of baseball with several games. We will see you again tomorrow with the big relegation matchup, with a kind of surprising matchup between Curaçao Neptunes of Rotterdam facing off against the Heidenheim Heideköpfe, with, of course, a spot in danger for either country for next year's Champions Cup tournament. That's going to be a big one for Germany as well, maybe even for the Bonn Capitals, who have come up short in the finals against Heidenheim in the last few years. So definitely the Bonn crowd will root for the Heideköpfe, whereas, of course, the Neptunes were very close to getting into the semi-finals, then surprisingly lost the game today against the last place team from the other group, the Brno team from the Czech Republic, who did its job to keep 2 Czech teams in the tournament. So quite an achievement there for the Czech teams and representatives. No semis, but 2 spots without danger of being relegated next year. And then it's going to be up between Heidenheim and the Neptunes for who stays in this cup next year. Of course, Bonn will participate in the 3rd place game for the bronze medal against San Marino, rematch of yesterday's last night's extra inning game. And then, of course, the final game, the final championship game between Parma and Amsterdam, 2 worthy finalists who have been really good and who actually played each other in group play. Parma sort of not taking that game too seriously, letting their 3rd-tier pitching get a shot at Amsterdam and taking a 2nd place finish in group play into account. So they'll definitely be much more in the game tomorrow. And we'll see who has the upper hand tomorrow, as Amsterdam won the first game in group play 12-4. I'll bet it's going to be much closer tomorrow in the finals, but we shall see. So a pleasant good evening from us here in the booth. Thank you to my colleague Tom Paulus and his brother Max, who was doing the technique, along with Angela and the entire staff here of Caps TV. Have a good night and enjoy the rest of the evening, and then hear you and see you tomorrow again. And if you haven't been here yet and live close by, head out to Rheinau Stadium. Great weather reported tomorrow for a joyful final day of Champions Cup baseball in Bonn 2022.